Hi, welcome everyone. I think we have quite a few people who have joined in today. Thanks you for taking your time off and joining here today. Uh, this is an event that Freshworks is running today, which is called CX for 2022, the age of digital first experiences. I know it sounds like a consultant made word. Yes, it is. It is a consultant made word, digital first. Maybe one of the big fours did it. But of course, this is a fact that we are living in this world, and we are, as a company, helping customers to implement this digital first experience. We want to share a bunch of trends with you today. And with me today are two panelists, experienced panelists, Mamta and Samir, who will be walking us through these trends and sharing their insights on it. I am, of course, your moderator for today, Vivek. I head the strategic accounts function for Freshworks in Middle East as a region. And of course, Mamta heads the customer experience as a function for Skilling. And Samir is the founder and the chief architect at Konnect Insights, who's helping a lot of B2B and B2C customers implement their digital first vision. Right. I think we have a sizable number of people joined us today. So I think we can start off the discussion. Okay. So go ahead. So, just to give you a quick recap of what Freshworks is or what Freshworks does, right? So, we are basically a SaaS company, and if you look at our mission, or as a company, is to make delight easy for your customers and, of course, for your employees. We have a bunch of values that we live by, which we, in short, call it as CHAT, CHAT, which stands for craftsmanship in the work that we do. We also make sure that the work we do also creates a happy work environment. We also make sure as a SaaS company, we have the speed or the agility, which is also coupled with accountability. And of course, always, as always, the entire vision or the value is founded on the basic principle that we always want to be a true friend of our customer. As a modern, a new age company, less than a decade old, we are of course modern. We are ensuring that it is fast and intuitive for you as a company to onboard and configure and scale your products. Of course, we provide a unified experience and an enterprise grade solution. And of course, the most important thing is we are making sure it's affordable for any company at any scale to upscale. Of course, the mantra that we live by is called Delight Made Easy. And we have a bunch of products that helps you make this delight, right? On the CX, CRM, and the EX front. All this, of course, powered by our Neo platform, which is our AI and ML platform, which helps you with the analytics part. So this is just what we are and what we do. And of course, these are the bunch of customers in your region. Of course, we would have few of you for joining in from these companies too today, who have also worked with us and made yourself future ready. And of course, getting into the solution, right, into the topic of discussion, the future of CX in India and MEA, right? So let's take 2020. Let's get back to 2020. I generally come up with sort of an anecdote here, right? So let's say in a test match, a guy is playing his regular 20 or 50 overs a day. A batsman is there. He's facing Anil Kumble, right? He has been facing Anil Kumble for, let's say, 20 overs. It's between the variation of slow, medium, or fast, within quotes, spin bowling, right? So suddenly, let's say in the other end, Harbhajan Singh comes in, or let's say Muthaiya Muralidharan, or even the recently demised Shane Warne comes in. He starts bowling his wrong ones, doosras. The batsman is now bamboozled, right? The other end, the guy is bowling me a straight line. What is this guy doing? I'm getting confused. And then now imagine that the entire pitch is pulled out from him. That was a situation in 2020 for most of the businesses, right? The entire pitch or the playground was pulled out from us due to the pandemic. Now, with this challenge, we started doing a few things. People started throwing a few things on the wall. Some stuck, some did not stick, and we tried to live with it. Of course, customers also gave us the direction on which direction that the businesses should move, right? They embraced the digital first sort of a mindset. They went on to online. They demanded that even the roadside vendors delivered things to their home through WhatsApp, right? I remember the case where I sent a message to a local roadside vendor saying I need 2 kilos of banana, 1 kilo in WhatsApp to his number, and he came home and delivered it during a pandemic. So this is how even a roadside vendor has evolved, and even today the larger companies are moving towards that direction, right? So in 2020, we have seen a bunch of trends over the last few years that we want to share with you today. And of course, the panelists will also walk you through this. Moving forward, so first trend, right? The trend that we always say, the want it now culture. So as a father of a 4-year-old, I can pretty much resonate with this want it now culture, right? Whenever a toddler comes to me and says, Daddy, I need it right now. And when you ask him the reason for it, there will be no reason for it. He just needs it now. So that's pretty much the phase that most of our companies are facing, right? Now, I come from a middle income group in India, so where I did most of my banking with public sector banks, right? So you know that by the end of the banking experience, you're just happy that the service is got or your work is done. You don't mind the speed at which it's coming. But with the wanted now culture, this millennial mindset is actually sort of seeped even with the baby boomers, right? Now people are online, they're buying online. Let's say we have to blame a little bit on Amazons of the world, Swiggy's of the world, that they have made it so convenient for us that by tapping a button, you're getting stuff which will generally take a 2 weeks delivery period to be happening within a day. So now people want it now, right now, no questions asked. So they dictate the terms now. So, to just take this conversation forward, maybe I will talk to Mamta. Mamta, I believe in your experience, right, you would have talked to a lot of youngsters, I believe, and of course, parents too, right, the baby boomers. And how do you think this want it now culture is becoming dominant, right, especially in your edtech space?
Okay. First of all, thank you, Vivek, for the question, and a warm welcome to everybody who's joined this webinar. So, thank you for listening in. So, Vivek, a very important question, and honestly, a question which made all of us struggle, to be very honest. In the last 2 years, uh, it's like a never-ending demand, and every effort from every business, be it the smallest store next door to the biggest organization, how do you cater to the ever-increasing demand? So in the edtech space, in fact, it's a three-pronged attack, right? It's the student, it's the parent, and the teachers. So as a business trying to make sure, it's like a typical Uber service, a three-way platform. How do you make sure that each one is equally engaged at their level? A child needs a different type of engagement. A parent, of course, needs a more mature, but also an immediate answer to things that are happening. And of course, a parent or a teacher has to be kept in sync. So, very difficult, but very exciting. Like you said, maybe the millennials drove it, but you realize that yes, it happens. Digital first works. The one-on-one aspect is great. What it gives confidence is that I'm getting an answer immediately. It's a one-on-one. It's not a global response. It's not a template response. The other bit is the level of engagement that it helps us drive. Is a different level. When it's wanted now, the frequency of requests and demands is far more than what you would get in, say, a world 2 years ago.
Yes.
That also gives us an opportunity to engage, and that's a huge opportunity for all the businesses to utilize these touch points. So yeah, great world, always challenging. I would never say that we have mastered it, but edtech takes it to a different level altogether because of the sensitivity with children involved. So I think it's a work in progress. And somewhere with the pandemic dying out, we will have to reconcile as to how much and to how far can we go here.
Yeah. Yeah, Mamta, I can resonate with you. And as you said, right, rightly said, it's a work in progress. I don't believe it's just for EdTech. It's for almost all industries, even those that call themselves as, let's say, pioneers in adapting to digital. It is still a work in job in going on. So just maybe I will take a lead from that and maybe ask Samir, who has been helping large companies to implement this, right, digital first experience. So what are the challenges that you have seen, Samir? Because now let's say 2 years, this entire pandemic is sort of accelerated the digital adoption, right? People who are even skeptical about it are now going for it. So what do you think are the challenges that you have seen here?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Vivek, for having me here. And so, see, I mean, I liked that slide where you said 2020 was a challenge, and it threw, a lot of challenges to various organizations who, when it came, right, and when it happened, we suddenly are trying to understand the importance of being digital first company. See, we offer a product which is a customer care on social media side of thing, where we do social listening and pull in data from all social channels and web and give it to in a dashboard where you engage with customers, respond to those queries, right?
Yes.
This is something that everybody knows. As part of customer care, we also understand the importance of, as a brand, to reach out to our customers on various channels, like be it email or be it chatbots, right? But still today, people believe that, the brands believe that these are some channels where they have to work in silos, right?
Yes.
Today's solutions that we offer, right, at Freshworks or at Connect Insights, is an omni-channel customer experience management platform where, using our marketplaces, we help them integrate all these channels, right?
Yes.
So still the challenge that we see here is the people in the brand side believe that these are different products and you need to do those things in in silos. That's the challenge, and we all want to unify your entire customer care, whether
Yes.
you're getting data from uh, emails or from chatbots or from call center or social media, your online reviews. You should have a unified solution, and
Got it.
that's the message that companies like Freshworks and Connect Insights are trying to tell. So the challenge that we see today is more on convincing the brands that you can have unified solutions rather than working in silos. Treat customer care as the most important aspect. Care is new marketing today, right? And we'll talk more about this, that the more customer centric you are, it helps you
Yes.
being a brand that is loved by the customers. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, got it, Samir. That makes sense, right? What you're talking about, siloed approach, and also adapting to the new channels that people are bringing into play. Your own customers are bringing into play, right?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it's a work in progress, as Mamta said. But I think people are, accelerating the adoption part, which is
Yes,
good
yes.
for the industry as a whole, right? So just to give you a quick example, right, to the people here. So we actually, Freshworks actually did a survey with Forrester for almost 4,500 businesses, and we looked over almost 107 million transactions. We found that CSAT was very highly impacted with the speed of service, right? With the speed at which it is resolved or even first contacted, it has a huge impact on the CSAT scores of any company, right? So just look at one of our customers, 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
They are actually predominantly known for their convenience, right? You can walk in anywhere in your locality. You can just walk in and come out within 5 minutes, get your stuff, right? That's the convenience that they bought in as 7-Eleven. Now, let's say I'm reaching out to 7-Eleven. It takes a day for them to get back on a Facebook query. The entire brand value is now coming into question, right? As a 7-Eleven. So that was a challenge that they faced with the pandemic setting in. A lot of queries moved to social media, and almost half their social media interactions were from Facebook, which actually shot up their volume huge. It was huge jump, and they were really looking for a solution. And luckily, we were able to help them, and they were also very intuitive in setting up a lot of practices, good practices, and ensuring that the volume did not bring down their speed of service, right? Even when they are anticipating almost 170% jump in the level of volumes that are going to come, they were able to tide through it, right, at the same level of resolution. So quickly moving on now to trend number two. Sorry, forgot about the poll. So there's a poll that we have now. So we'll run a small poll. Yeah. So you'll be seeing a poll popping up on your screen. Please do select your answer and submit the vote quickly. We'll just take a minute for this short poll just to understand the audience's pulse. So the question is pretty simple. Have you seen any significant shift in consumers demanding faster than ever services and responses, especially with respect to your business, right? You can just select the answer and submit the poll. Yeah, I'm seeing the response coming up slowly. So we have quite a sizable number of people in the room. So let's see if we can get a good enough response before we close this poll. Yeah, as expected, the majority of the answer seems to be in in favor of yes. Yes, there is a change or the shift towards faster service. Yeah, just keep the votes coming. We'll be just closing this up shortly. We have half the participants voted in. Please do feel free to vote. It's a very simple query. Okay. Thanks for the votes. And as expected, the poll results seems to be very one-sided, right? It is saying that yes, the shift is there towards faster service. So yeah, so the trend is pretty much validated with our studies and our own experience. And moving on to the second trend, of course, this is something that I think most of you again would have seen this, that a seamless omni-channel experience has become a key for anyone to differentiate and to survive, right? So let's say what do you do as a customer support org? What more differently that you can do right now? Everyone has a phone support center. Everyone has an email support channel. People also get on social media. So since everyone, almost every Tom, Dick, and Harry has a support org who can do all this, how do you differentiate this, right? From a let's say a B2B large organization to a small company, right? That's where we have looking at that it should be seamless, right? So let's take an example of a retail customer. Let's say a person goes into Facebook. She sees a beautiful dress that is coming popping up as an ad from, let's say, some brand. She clicks on that ad, immediately takes them to an online store. Okay, she says, fine, this is okay, but I want to try it on and check it out. So she finds a store locator, finds where the nearest store is, goes in, asks them whether it's in stock. So the guy who's sitting behind the counter should know that she has clicked this online link. She has come here. This is the pricing that was there on the price. He has to show the right sizes for her, make her try it on. Then once she is done with the payment, she's going to do it payment online. She asks the counter guy to send it to online, let's say WhatsApp or ABC, Apple Business Chat, right? So that happens. And then finally, once the entire process is done, she wants to take a snapshot or a selfie and post it on Instagram again. To do the entire cycle and tag the correct brand and the company where she bought it from. to all do all this, of course, for the customer, she doesn't mind, right? She doesn't need to mind about how it comes together, right, at the back end. But as a business, we have to ensure that it is seamless and uniform. The experience should be uniform across, so that the brand value and the brand equity remains the same. Whether she's buying from, let's say, online or offline, or trying it on somewhere else, or trying to post it on social media, whatever it is, the experience has to be uniform and smooth. That's where this omni-channel trend comes into play, right? So, though we have seen this in retail mostly, I think Mamta has her own experience, right? Coming from an edtech space, uh, my guess is that most of your interactions or the customer experience interactions should have been on the digital channel, right? But what is your take on the omni-channel platform or omni-channel presence for in the space of edtech, right? Is it something that you have given thought to, or the companies are thinking about?
So two experiences, right? One with White Hat and currently with Skilllink.
Yes,
So White Hat grew from, shell stage. It scaled at a different level. So as we scaled, the realization was very astute. One was being parallel to the pandemic time. It
yes,
was more of a psychological demand as well, that value people's time. So automatically that translated into making sure that we don't waste a conversation with anyone
yes,
by asking unnecessary questions. So automatically the seamless omni-channel requirement came into play. So that became a driver for making sure your CRM is synced, right
yes.
from lead, sales, payment, to the in journey experience. So automatically value for time became attached to loyalty.
Got it.
Right. So pretty big, but EdTech, to be very honest, is in many different stages today. Not all of them have reached a stage where building this seamless structure is that easy. And I
Mm,
think a lot of consultative help will also do over here in this area, because not
yes,
everybody has mastered the art. Because, like I said earlier, it's a three-way platform. It is not easy to mash, the different segments that we have to work with.
yes.
But yes, the last 2 years drove this demand from a sentiment perspective than a system perspective.
Got it. Got it. So yeah, I can take a cue from them on that saying edtech, not just edtech, right? Even you have seen larger fintech companies, BFSI was supposed to be the leaders in the S curve with respect to the digital adoption. Even they
Yeah.
need consulting help, right? This is something new for them to bring in omni-channel platform across new channels. Let's say a messaging channel or whatever it is. It's something new
Mhm.
for them, right? I think that's where even companies like what Samir is doing, right? It plays a valuable role. So, Samir, in your experience, right? So, people are a little scared, right? Let's say we were actually pushing for telephony systems a few years back within this decade. Have a large telephony system outsources. It'll be easier for you to manage your support queries. And now, with the pandemic coming in, we are saying telephony system doesn't work. You have to become cloud based. And people are like skeptical. Like, look, I sunk a lot of money here, man. Why tomorrow you should not come back and say this is not useful? Your technology has moved on. So how do you sort of make them assured that look, this is not going to be a huge cost, or without huge cost, you can still go for an omni-channel experience.
Yeah. See, we at Connect Insights, have this tagline called as "Listen, Evaluate, and Act."
Yes.
So, as part of listening to the customers and being present everywhere, omnipresent, omni-channel customer experience management platform, there are four pillars as we define for customer experience management. And the first two pillars is to listen from all possible channels, and those all possible channels could be social media, right? Could be online web, all the reviews, forums where people talk about you. It can be emails, right? And because we are on this physical digital patchwork, uh, when people are on ground, right, you should also take feedback from them, and then push those to digital, platforms. So we give them a QR code solution where they can scan and give back their feedback. So as part of first pillar, these four channels become very important. Then the second pillar of four pillars of customer experience management is the calling and the chats, right? All the messaging channels and the calling applications. Today, even today's world, uh, uh, even though people come on social media and send you a lot of emails, there is a place for IVRs and people
Mm.
come to those channels. But you
Yes.
also need one centralized solution where all your tickets are. So you have to integrate your calling applications, your chatbot applications with a centralized system.
Got it.
There are of course a lot of app integrations that we have. Then the third pillar is analyzing all that and have one view of the customer using the CRM systems. Yeah, because if someone is doing a call or sending queries on multiple platforms, you should not ask them, please help us with your details, right? You should have that one view of the customer, which is so very important. So the solutions that you use in your company should offer you that one view of the customer, and based on those insights, then go ahead and do your marketing automations or publish content on social media.
Got it.
So those four pillars of customer experience management are very important, and you have to listen, evaluate, and act based on these insights. So even places where normal channels are not there. I mean, we have one of the biggest airports using our product, where they get feedback from the customers or passengers while they are on ground, right? So if you have an issue with baggage, you can scan the QR code, fill out a
Mm.
survey, the ticket comes into connected site. So
Yes.
you have to be think like a customer centric brand wouldn't again think as different systems. You have to unify all your customer care into one unified product. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I mean, what you say is making sense, right? So I have a personal like experience, right? So this is one of the customers I deal with, personally, Landmark Group. So Landmark Group is a pretty large entity, right? They have presence in Middle East and in India. They have multiple brands. They have multiple outlets, presence across the country, across the regions. So they have a multicultural sort of a workforce too, right? So what we have noticed, right? Uh, Landmark, at least in Landmark's experience, a customer who's coming onto any platform, right? Let it be an email platform or let's say through the loyalty app or whatever it is, they expect the agent in the back end to know the entire context before he even starts talking to them,
Yeah.
just based on the number that he's contacting them from, right? They don't want him asking what is your name, what is your mail ID, where are you sitting, what was the order ID, nothing. They just want him to say hi, and the guy should reply saying, "Is it regarding the order ID? This has been delivered. This has been delayed due to some issue, or you have asked for reschedulement, or there's a refund that will come in the next 12 weeks or 12 days, whatever it is." So there is a level of context, a level of personalization that the end customer is asking for, right? Of course, Landmark has 1001 systems to talk to each other to get this information out, right, internally. But the customer does not worry about it. And
Yeah.
that's where, as you said, right, everything should fall in place to make sure the customer experience is the first thing. And it was also like, for me, it was lucky to see that a company as large as Landmark is also thinking from a customer's in, right, outside in sort of a view. But they are saying, I will not just hold the sales guy or the guy who's helping with the sales to be responsible for our revenue. I'll ensure that the delivery person, the customer, the guy who maintains even the health and hygiene of the store, the guy who's in the counter, everyone will have a QR code or a CSAT if the customer interacts with them, right? And ensure that this is captured and sent back to the different departments to make them sensitized that the business does not depend on one guy. It has to fall in place with all the departments to ensure that they go properly digital, right? Digital and physical,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, it's true. So just moving on. So the third most important trend, in my at least in my opinion, is that messaging, right? Real time conversations. So people, all this want it now, want it immediately. All this also stems from the fact that we are now well connected, both from a, how do you say, as a digital entity, as a kind of world, digital world, we are so well connected, right? I even now when I was just joining the call, I was chatting to a friend who's in Dubai and another friend who's in Australia on a group chat, and they were talking to me. They were just giving me some. feedback about their personal life and what they were doing and all these things. So it's so well connected that I didn't even feel like I'm talking to two guys who are sitting almost like two continents apart, right? So that's the level of experience now people are also expecting, right? That they want to get into an Apple Business Chat or let's say WhatsApp. They want to chat through their mobile app and they want the businesses to reply. They don't care you don't have a WhatsApp number, you don't have Apple Business Chat number, whether integrations are done. They don't care about it. They just want you to be available on that platform, period. So that's where I am also seeing a lot of our customers in the region, and also they're also looking at this messaging as a mix, right? To bring it into the support mix. They're trying a few things that might help them, right? One major thing benefit that they see, right, that we also noticed during our studies with Forrester is that the OPEX cost for a phone conversation to resolve a query is roughly about 15 and a half dollars if I look at it. And if you look at a messaging platform, right, it is between $1 to $5. That's roughly about 60% saving right there, right? And of course, the other angle is also you are reducing the volumes that are going to the telephony center. Even for simple queries, if they start calling the telephony center, the overall overhead shoot up dramatically. So these two are two aspects, of course, from the pricing or the costing perspective that will help a business to think of messaging or a mobile conversation as a platform for their support channels. Of course, there are also some challenges that would come up, right? And I think Samir, you might be the right one to take this one. Uh, I think you would have implemented quite a few B2B or B2C implementations, right? Where they're looking to implement, let's say, WhatsApp as a support channel
Yeah.
in their existing mix of whatever it is, phone, email, whatever it is.
Yeah.
What were the challenges that you saw there? I mean, cost might have been a benefit, but there would have been definitely some challenges to get a messaging or a real-time conversation into the mix.
Yeah. See, when it comes to messaging channels, there are so many messaging channels now, right? In
Yes.
fact, you have as a customer, if I have opened Facebook, I'll go and go to Facebook inbox and chat. If I've opened WhatsApp, I'll do a WhatsApp.
Yes.
Whatever is convenient to me as a customer individual, right? I'll go and write my concerns or queries on those channels, right? So as a brand, we have to listen to all possible channels. And only talking about messaging channels, there are so many, right? There is your Twitter DMs, you have now Instagram DMs, you have Facebook inbox messages, you have WhatsApp, Google Messages is there. In fact, we are doing a webinar next week on Google Messages with the Google team, right? So there are so many channels through which you can reach out to the customers.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to brands, right, they know all these channels. Sometimes we have to educate them, tell them that you should listen to all possible channels. There are all integrations available and solutions that we offer. Uh, but it's also very important to build the right kind of workflows and at the same time automate things wherever it is possible, right?
Yes.
Uh, so when it comes to channels like Twitter DMs and all that, there are very few workflows. You still get the data and you're basically able to respond to the
Yes.
queries. When it comes to WhatsApp, there's a little bit of more implementation. The cost factor comes into the picture because it's not free. You have to subscribe via the partners, and there is a cost involved in that. But as long as they are customer centric and they know that they have to respond to the queries, they go ahead and employ the similar workflows, right, or build some bit of automation on these channels, and they go ahead and implement it. So as a traditional a package that we offer, right, you get all the messaging platforms in one platform, but of course there's a little bit of you know maybe an implementation time or cost involved when it comes to WhatsApp implementation. Otherwise, Google Messages, Facebook inbox, Twitter DMs, Instagram DMs, and all you know very common messaging channels are very easy to go ahead and implement in a day's time.
Yeah.
The challenge is, of course, a little bit of cost here involved in WhatsApp, and at the same time, the building the workflows.
Got it. Got it, Samir. I understand that there is some level of time and effort involved, which is more of a prohibitive, could be a prohibitive thing for larger implementations for in a quicker time span. But of course, we can. What I at least I have talked to my larger clients, right? take it simple, one step at a time, right? Maybe address your FAQs. Let's say it's a retail customer, it will mostly revolve around the order status, right? Where is
Yeah.
my order? Has my order reached me? Where is it shipped? As the refund coming? So these sort of queries take up almost 30% of the bandwidth,
Yeah.
right, of a particular support team. So maybe if you automate that, or let's say take away that to the real-time conversation to a separate team, maybe it can reduce the phone volumes. Maybe if they see the initial impressions that it is reducing the efforts from the support team, maybe they'll take up complex cases, right, which could take more time to implement. Yeah. Uh, Mamta, as we are discussing about mobile and messaging platform, of course, I think most of your instructors would have been telling your students, please put your mobiles away when you're in the classroom. And it becomes even more tougher when you're doing it online, right, through a webcam.
Yeah.
Let's say most of your people are taking their calls, or let's say their classes online through their mobile smart devices. Of course, they'll quickly, if they have a query, they'll like to respond or chat on WhatsApp, maybe with the instructor or through a group to fellow students. So these are some things that evolve with the time, right? So how is EdTech sort of, coming up with real-time conversations, or let's say messaging tools?
Okay. So EdTech, of course, the fact that you're having a one-on-one conversation, so everything is real time. It
Yes.
takes away the pressure of having other channels. And to be
Yes.
very honest, at times all these options are too much. Maybe we don't need them. We just need to have one channel which works with the right speed and accuracy of information, and that should be able to deliver. Because honestly, it gets quite overwhelming
Mm.
even to service via so many channels, right?
Yes.
So, of course, everybody has a mobile today. Every segment has this expectation that I should be, the first person that somebody can reach me and somebody responds to me. But in the edtech space, or in fact, even in telecom, where I worked previously, the expectation is always leave the choice with the customer. What choice would you want to make? How do you want to be communicated to? And then decide on what options, because I feel the options can be quite overwhelming
Mm.
with every year. In fact, there are always a new bouquet of options that come up. It's
Yes.
very hard for the businesses to decide and say this is the one that you want to go ahead with.
Yes. Yeah, got it, Mamta. So as I understand, right? So edtech, fintech, there are a lot of sectors that are trying to emulate what retailers, or let's say smaller companies or even startups are trying to do through WhatsApp or ABC, right? Bringing that convenience to, let's say, a fintech sector may make sense, but may not make sense so much in edtech sort of sector. So it's best to leave it to the CXT or the team who handles the support to bring the right channel mix into their play, right? Yes.
Correct.
So moving on. So just a quick thing, right? So this is from a fintech sector, one of our customers again in South Africa. So this is a case where interesting case, right? So this company was relatively new, smaller when they started the engagement with Freshworks. It was actually a very niche sort of a job that they do. They're a debt management company, right? They help a lot of citizens in South Africa to manage their debt or refinance their debt, or sort of help them with that part of the thing, with their financial consulting and their knowledge, right? So they started off very small with us. So, but by the time the engagement started growing over the years, they scaled up rapidly, right? With the level of rapid scale up, what they felt was the traditional channels were not keeping up. The CSAT scores were dropping because, let's say, the time to resolve queries was going up, right? And they felt that, okay, let's bring in a real time conversation into the mix. Maybe we hive off a little bit of that to the separate team who can handle this. And of course, with that, they saw almost 60% reduction, right, in the cost. And of course, the other part is they also saw the volume that was going into the call centers or through the support email channels also started dropping. And their CSAT scores actually went up because the speed of resolution for real time conversation was much higher. And the agent could multitask, right? A guy who's on the email support channel could also open up a small window and start chatting, right? He can also chat with four customers at the same time if required. And they were able to solve a lot of queries quicker. So this is something that happened, and with the scaling, they were also able to improve their CSAT scores. right? So this is something that happened for a smaller company, of course, which scaled up. And of course, most important piece that we always talk about how it impacts businesses, how it impacts customers, all these things, but the people behind the scenes, right, who actually makes things both happen for both the businesses and the customers are the support agents, right? The invisible support agents, right? These guys are pretty critical to have a very successful support service in any organization. But of course, with the pandemic, I think the pandemic has hit them also pretty badly, right? We have seen cases where I have had anecdotes with customers wherein they have talked about how much it has actually burned through most of the workforce because the level of query, the level of constant engagement that these guys had to do, the amount, volumes of service support that they had to do, and of course the tone of some of the customers, right? Especially during the pandemic period, because we were also pretty agitated what is happening in the world. People are venting it out on support agents, unknown people. So they were burning out left, right, and center. Of course, as a company or as an organization, what we can do to support our support agents is to ensure that they have the necessary tools and they're empowered, right?
Yeah.
Ensure that their job is done a little bit easier. So that, of course, the customers handling part is part of their job, but at least let them do the job a little easier through the tools, right? So that's where we are looking at. So, Mamta, I know Skilling is trying to address this particular part, right? Support team burnout. Is it something that Skilling has seen? You're trying to bridge the gap between professionals who actually want to get to a better place, right, in their career or in their educational space. Now, I'm not sure how your customers react to their support agents, but have you, as a company, as Skilling Glue, noticed any burnout with your support agents, and how you have sort of addressed this, right?
Okay, so yeah, I think it's a very important question, right? So one, scaling not yet. We are just beginning to scale.
Yes.
But overall, in the last, so across my 10 years, cloud, telecom, and edtech, we expect the world out of the agent, right? But look at the ecosystem. The person making the purchase is somebody different of a
Yes.
system. The person developing it is someone different, but the users are the agent who are possibly the endpoint of everything that's been developed, right? So, with skilling as a learning, and what we all agree is we want to be very careful in how we evaluate. How do we go about this digital first approach in
Yes.
terms of seamless omni-channel? So, the first priority is to build the internal ecosystem, the ecosystem which will make the UI and the channels sync up with each other. Things like security, when to use what, when do you use a social media or a WhatsApp channel,
Yes.
secure information, compliance information.
Yes.
How can we build a 360 information channel right through the database?
Yeah.
What is resolution? I mean, it's okay to put an agent in front of a customer and say, go and solve it. But if we have not armed them with all this information, right, a tool, a system, and the right information on process, I think we are leaving too much at an agent end, and that leads to burnout. Otherwise,
Yes.
I think, like you said, anybody who wants to grow, this is a great place to learn and grow from, right? It's like someone who has done sales or someone who has handled customer service queries. I think they can handle anything. So, but it's also the duty of so the design, the process of how it's set up, the leadership of how we set these agents up to be in empowered. I think Amazon does and has been doing it in an absolutely fab manner,
Yes.
right? In terms of how they have built structures ground up to make sure that an agent is in a decision making role and not just bearing the brunt of everything. So yeah, pretty critical, but yeah, ways to avoid it as well. Thanks.
Yeah, got it. Got it, Mamta. Yeah, I can resonate with you, right? So I do understand that we have to empower our agents a little more the way we are currently structured. So, Samir, I mean, you would have been talking to a lot of customers, right, when they're implementing a solution or a tool.
Yeah.
But let's say when conversation happens, they generally talk about cost cutting and stuff like that. But let's say if you have to pitch in, right, you have to talk about empowering
Yeah.
your agents. So how do you sort of talk about empowering the agents through tools in a SaaS-like environment?
Yeah. See, being a SaaS company, being a SaaS product, offering a customer experience management platform, our job is to give you right kind of tool sets, right? uh, and tool sets on how you can empower the agents, give them the right kind of knowledge base, building some AI automation so the right prompt messages can come to them. These are all tool sets that we bring. I believe that building these solutions, as long as you know what is the right requirement, is a much easier job of building the tool sets. What
Yes.
is more important from the customer point of view is the mindset, right?
Got
I mean, that's very important. As a and see our SaaS products evolve where customers demand things and ask us to build things. That's where we go ahead and build the automation and build some workflows, build right kind of knowledge based tools to help the agents, give them SLAs and CSATs, and these are still I believe important things, but still easier to build. What is important as a company is the right culture, right mindset, and
Yes.
we call that as 4 E's, right? Of customer experience, and those 4 E's are your empathy first, right? How can you exhibit excellence? How can you show enthusiasm, and how we can empower, right? Uh, so those are the key elements. As long as you have that as part of your culture, you will always have one or the other solution that will give you all the possible solutions. Of course, Mamta, as she rightly said, the agents are facing the customers, and they have to be empowered. And yeah, you need to use the right kind of tool sets for that. Very good implementation of knowledge base, some level of automation, so that based on the query that is written, they land up on the right kind of answers to give. So yeah, so those are things that are very important to empower the agents.
Got it, Samir. Yeah, I understand this. So yeah, I mean, this is an important piece that most companies miss out, right? Empowering their agents. So yeah, this is also pretty important that we have noticed that with a strong agent team, which is empowered with tools with the decision making authority, as Mamta said, they do wonders, right? They help with retention of customers. They also help with bringing more sales for that company. Of course, a quick poll now. Please do feel free to give your answers. Uh, have I mean, as any of you, right? So this is what our perception is. Most companies miss this piece, but if you have done something, right? If you have done in your past something to empower your agents, have you seen your customers, feeling that fall off effect that they are feeling their empowerment is better, and these people start interacting better with you or give a better CSAT? I think the poll is now open. Yeah. Yeah, we are seeing the answers coming in. It's mostly on, yeah, of course, yes. We'll just close this in another few seconds. Please do post in your vote. Yep. Yep. I think most of you are leaning towards yes. I think we have almost all the voters on the yes side. And it's good to see that some of you have empowered your agents and have seen the results of it, which is good. Okay. So moving on, we'll just move on to the quickly that yeah, I think I can agree with most of you, right, who are saying yes, you have seen results for the agent empowerment. That's because almost 1 out of 3 leaders, right, they believe that investing on new age platforms or digital first sort of a mindset is important for them to grow, and they are making it a top digital investment priority this year, right? So this is based on some research that we did through Forrester, and we found almost one out of every three leader is doing this, right? And the final and most important trend in the omni-channel piece, right? The bots. So any omni-channel conversation is incomplete without an AI ML conversation, right? So almost everyone, like almost every Tom, Dick, and Harry is talking about implementing AI or ML. There's even a running joke in our forums that, let's say, our roadside vegetable vendor is thinking about doing an AI ML to predict how much does he need to buy from the local vegetable market, wholesale market for the coming year, or what the price would be for the potatoes or onions in the coming months. So that's how important, or let's say part and parcel of our life, that prediction and automation is becoming, right? Almost people want to predict and be ready for situations. Let's say we were never ready for a pandemic or a war, but let's say for things that are under our control where we have the data, right? If we can predict and work towards it and be ready for it, I think we can reap the benefit of this, right? So let's when we are talking about real-time conversations, of course, it also makes the other part of the story, right? When Mamta was saying it becomes just too much for the support agent to handle too many queries, that to real-time queries, right? So that's when a bot or a AI-based bot could come in and save that person, right? It can take up a bunch of the load away from him and try to sort it out quickly for him. Right, Samir, what one of the output of the studies, right? What we found was there is a CSAT improvement of almost 7%, right?
Yeah.
Whenever there is an AI deployment in a real-time conversation,
Yeah.
right? If there's a bot enabled or a sort of a AI-driven conversation, there is an improvement in CSAT score because, of course, speed of resolution goes up, and also the customer is happy that a quick resolution or a reply has come in. So, what have you seen, right, in your implementations in the past few years that these companies are doing with AI and ML? What are the challenges that you see, and of course, what has actually impacted them?
Uh, See, I have mixed opinions as far as implementation of bots is concerned, right?
Yes,
You have to be really smart in understanding what could be the use cases of bot,
yes,
yeah, and where to use them.
yes,
Of course, we can build best of the bots and give you those solutions, but we have to use it very wisely. Now, depending on the platform, for instance, there are a lot of Google business reviews that come, right, where people praise you and appreciate you, give you 4-star rating, and if the volumes are high, you can have some bit of automation where you acknowledge those reviews and send out a response, right? You can also have botted response on where where someone says positive on Twitter, right? But if someone is coming with the right kind of query on a platform like Twitter, which is completely open to everyone, right, using a bot response is not advisable. However confident you are with your algorithm, right?
yes,
uh, but when it comes to and you're talking about CSAT, right? You can use automation not only for the responses, but you can use automation for workflows. You can use
yeah,
automation for sending out CSATs after your query is resolved and you want to mark it as closed after some time. You
yes,
can use automation or AI ML to assign the task to a call center team if a phone number is mentioned in a post, right?
got it.
So yes, I mean my take as a techie is definitely I love automation. I love to build AI and ML and give those solutions. But as a business person, I would be wise enough to understand where to implement and where not to implement. So it has
Yes,
to reduce my work, but not at the cost of uh, you know. Customer dissatisfaction. So customer satisfaction is very important for me. Maintaining my turnaround time is very important for me. Ensuring that I send out first level response within 10 minutes is important for me. But I don't want to be looking stupid in front of the entire world when I use bots for places where I should not use it.
Yes.
So yes, again, we can build best of the bots and best of the tools, but again, depending on platform to platform, business to business use cases, you have to go ahead and implement that smartly. In fact, we talk to a lot of customers where they are fans of uh, you know uh, bot responses, and there are some customers who would go and do double check before sending out a response. They would need maker checker kind of functionalities, right? So we have to respect both and accordingly implement the solutions depending on the use cases.
Got it, Samit. I mean, Mamta, to you, I believe a AI bot for a real-time conversation may not make so much sense in a tech sort of a place, but let's say AI, right? So AI can still help. It can help you to predict, right? Predict your future business streams, or let's say where you can set up a center, or let's say where you have to go into all these sort of things. It will help a lot, right? So how is edtech sort of helping or getting into this AIML space or implementing it in the customer experience front?
Okay, so see, customer experience for me, it's a far more bigger platform than just customer support and service, right?
Yes. Yes.
For me, the bigger strategic initiatives at a marketing level of how I can actually forecast and predict what channel or what path I should take, that's where the experiences will matter.
Yes.
Predictive analytics, I think there is huge amount of scope, when it comes to edtech. But I think there is a very basic element that we need to start off first is educate the educators as to
Yes.
how and where can predictive analytics be applied. Second is the kind of analysis that we should expect. There is a difference between the technological aspect and the business acumen that is needed from the analyst,
Yes.
without which building models for the future, right, strategically, like how can the course be better, how can the students engagement be better, how
Better.
can I predict a student's trajectory,
Yes.
in the seventh standard, can I tell that is this student heading towards medical or engineering or
Yes.
sports or xyz. If we are able to build that level of intelligence, that's where the potential of predictive analytics is. But
Yes.
I think we are in very, very early stages in terms of optimizing it when it comes to edtech.
Yes. Yeah, Mamta. I can resonate with you. I think in terms of AIML, we are still at a very early stage across even the leaders, right? So in my past, I used to work with a large company which used to tie up with IBM, Watson's, Google's,
Hmm.
HP's of the world, and where we had double doctorates who are done doctorates on both machine learning and ANN separately, artificial neural networks. But he was still saying we are just scratching the surface. We have never gotten into in a big way that the entire potential is unleashed, right? But of course, when you're talking about the potential, maybe we can start off small, like what one of our customers, like PhonePay, did. So they just used a bot for a simple use case, like what Samir said, maybe not for all the use cases. So they are basically online banking sort of a solution, wallet sort of a solution. So most of their queries were revolved around what is my balance. So they just automated this part, and immediately they noticed almost 15% of their volumes drop, support volumes. Based on the confidence from this, they just brought in all the complex cases, and now they have a resolution of almost 80% of incoming queries through bots alone. Of course, it's all well integrated, it's all connected well to their systems. All this is good, but 80% reduction in incoming queries just with bots and a well-built flow is something huge in terms of costs. So that's what they have done. So without taking too much time, I think we have already overshot our time. So I will leave a little bit time for the Q&A. Before that, I think we have a small poll here. Uh, People who are joined in, please do let us know your way, how you want to engage with us further. We will start a small poll now. Uh, and if you can just click on one of these options and submit it, we can take the conversations to the next phase. We can share our expertise, and we can also take the conversation to the next phase. Team will get back to you and reach out to you for whatever queries that you have, and we will try to resolve them, or we'll have a more detailed conversation regarding the same. Right? Please do submit your votes, and we will go to the Q&A session once your votes are submitted.
Uh, Meanwhile, Vivek, I think there's a question. I think panel, most of
Yes.
them are left, but it's about the data security on direct messaging, right? So,
Yeah, there are a couple of questions here. Uh, so yeah, so if you look at, I think Eva has asked us about the data security when we look at direct messages or messaging as a support channel. So Eva, I think as even Samir was saying, it's about choosing the right platform, right? So if you look at it, WhatsApp and Facebook, or let's say basically Facebook, is pretty much ruling the roost when it comes to mobile messaging, when it comes to Middle East and in India, right? In North America, ABC or Apple Business Chat is pretty much dominant in the market. And of course, both these channels, right, Apple or let's say Facebook, they have the stringent data security guidelines. They follow GDPR, if I'm right. Samir can correct me if I'm wrong. But they are governed by GDPR as an American company, right? So they ensure all their data systems and policies are ensured in such a way that your data is secure. Of course, there are some local nuances that come into play. Let's say in Middle East, I do know that in Saudi there's a SAMA regulation coming up where the data of a particular citizen in the country should not leave the country and has to be hosted locally. So these are some local nuances that, of course, they can work with, and I mean, people like Samir, Freshworks can work with you to maybe support that local nuance, ensure that data is secure within the domain.
Yeah.
Right, I think the question by Nidhi, choosing a platform is critical. I think that's something Samir mentioned, right? Uh, Samir, maybe you can take that. How do I ensure I select the right platform or my company CX?
Yeah. See, the choice really is with the customer, right? I mean, as a company, we have to be there on all possible platforms to listen to our customers. If the queries are coming on say Twitter, you have to be on Twitter. If the queries are coming on Facebook or email or call center chatbots, right? There's so many channels for us to listen to, as a company, right? So it's it has to be easy, where you don't have to be there present on all these channels. You need right kind of tools
Yes.
where you get all the queries, irrespective of the platform, as all tickets in one place. So that's what we offer with Konnect Insights, that you will not feel that these are multiple channels, right? You'll not feel that you're giving solution on multiple channels. As an agent, as a company, you should have one view for all the queries coming in, and not just that, but also integrate with a lot of your other systems like CRMs, where you know who this customer is. If they've shared some more information, you can connect with your CRMs and then get more information of the customer. So yes, like, you might think that there are 100 channels where people are talking, we have to listen to all, but we don't have to be present on 100 channels to resolve the queries. We can be one product itself where all the queries come in, and that's why we build tools where it makes life very easy for the agents as well as for the company to manage all your data in one go. And I also look at various kind of reports, like what has been your SLAs, have you met or not, what has been your CSAT across different channels, if more importance is given to Twitter versus your email in terms of your turnaround time. How do you see those reports? So yes, it might sound that scary, that so many channels, how do I listen to all of them? But the right kind of tools make it a lot easier for you.
Okay, got it, Samir. Understandable. And to everyone present here, we are extremely sorry for overshooting by 3 minutes of the time allotted to us. Uh, but of course, if you have any Q&A, right, you can feel free to ask or even post it here in the Q&A question section. We will ensure that one of us, right, Samir, Mamta, or I, or from the Freshworks team, will definitely get back to you on these queries and ensure that it is answered, right? And in terms of sharing the deck, I think Fiona has answered it in the live chat. And of course, thank you all for taking your time off. And again, apologize for taking almost 2 to 3 minutes of your time. Uh, but again, thanks Mamta, thanks Samir for taking your time off joining us today and sharing a lot of useful insights to us. It would have been definitely helpful for a lot of the people who have joined here, and of course, it was helpful for me personally. It will help me in my further discussions. Thank you all. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks, Vivek. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you,
Thank,
Vivek.
yeah.
Thank you all. Yep.
Thank
Thank you for your time. Bye bye.